Welcome back to Passionate Beauty Tales. I knew something was wrong the moment he said my name, like it belonged to him. We were standing under a chandelier the size of a small car, surrounded by cameras, champagne, and people who smiled with their teeth but never with their eyes. The Riverstone Charity Gala in Manhattan was famous for looking like love and money had a baby, but I had learned the truth in my 3 years as an executive assistant. This place was not romance, it was war wrapped in silk. My boss, Grant Holloway, loved nights like this. He loved the spotlight, he loved having an audience, and he loved using me as proof that he could control another human being with a single finger snap. He stood at a tall cocktail table with 2 hedge fund guys and a woman in a glittering gold dress who laughed too loud at everything he said. I stood a step behind him, my shoulders straight, my face calm, my hands folded like I was part of the furniture. I wore a simple black dress I bought on sale. It fit well enough, but in this room I might as well have been wearing a sign that said staff. Grant lifted his glass and smirked. "My assistant, Claire, keeps this whole thing from falling apart," he said, and my chest loosened for half a second. Then his smile sharpened. "Mostly because she is terrified of disappointing me. That fear really improves performance." They laughed. I felt the heat creep up my neck and into my cheeks, but I kept my expression neutral. I had gotten good at swallowing humiliation. My mom's medical bills did not care about my pride. My little brother's college tuition did not care about my feelings. Grant knew that. He loved that. One of the men glanced past Grant, and his laughter died in his throat. "That's Adrian Vale," he said. Suddenly careful, suddenly respectful. "He's here." Grant's whole body changed. His shoulders pulled back, his chin lifted, even his voice shifted, like he was trying to sound richer. "Adrian," he repeated, like saying the name made him important. I had heard of Adrian Vale. Everyone in finance had. The CEO of Vale Group was not just wealthy. He was a storm that moved through boardrooms and left other men looking small. He was private, ruthless, and impossible to ignore. Rumors followed him the way perfume followed the women in this room. People said he bought companies the way other people bought coffee. People said he never lost. Then I saw him. He was taller than most men in the room, dressed in a perfectly fitted dark suit that made him look like he had stepped out of a magazine and into a courtroom at the same time. His hair was dark, his jaw sharp, his posture calm. But it was his eyes that made my breath catch. They were a deep, steady brown, the kind that held you in place without raising their voice. Grant stepped forward, grin wide, hand extended. "Mr. Vale, what an honor." "Grant Holloway, Holloway Capital." Adrian gave him a brief nod. He did not smile. He did not reach for Grant's hand right away. He let the silence stretch just long enough to remind everyone who had power. Then, his gaze slid past Grant. It landed on me, and the room disappeared. It was not a casual glance. It was not the look of a man noticing a pretty dress. It was focused, measuring, like he had been searching for something and suddenly found it. My heart beat once, hard. I told myself it meant nothing. Men like him did not look at women like me. Grant cleared his throat, desperate to reclaim the moment. "Claire," he snapped, finally remembering I existed. "Go get Mr. Vale a drink. Neat bourbon, the expensive kind, and try not to mess it up." The words were meant to put me back in my place, a public reminder that I was his. I started to move, because that was what I did. I obeyed. I survived. "Stop." Adrian's voice was quiet, but it cut through the chatter like a blade. Grant blinked. "Excuse me?" Adrian did not look at him. His eyes stayed on mine. "That won't be necessary." Grant forced a laugh. "She's my assistant. It's her job." Adrian took one step closer. The air around him felt colder. "I didn't ask for a drink," he said. "I came to ask for her." The people around us went still. I felt their attention turn sharp, like I was standing on a stage without knowing my lines. Grant's smile twitched. "Ask for her?" Adrian's eyes did not move from my face. "A dance," he said. "With me." My stomach flipped. It made no sense. It felt impossible. And yet, his hand lifted, palm open, waiting. I should have said no. I should have stayed invisible. But something in me, the part that was tired of being someone's punchline, reached for the chance before I could talk myself out of it. I placed my hand in his. His fingers closed around mine, warm and steady, and for the first time that night, I felt like I could breathe. "Thank you," I whispered as he guided me toward the dance floor. He leaned in slightly, close enough that only I could hear. "You don't have to thank me," he said. "You have to decide if you trust me." I almost laughed, because trusting a man like him felt like stepping off a roof and hoping the air would catch me. But when he put his hand on my back, it was gentle. When he moved, he did it like he already knew where I belonged. We started to dance. His control was effortless. He didn't grip me like I was an object. He guided me like I mattered. The band played something slow and classic, and the lights reflected off the polished floor like scattered stars. "You work for Holloway," he said softly. "Yes." "You hate it." I swallowed. "It pays." His mouth tightened, like that answer annoyed him. "He embarrasses you on purpose." My throat went tight. "It's not personal." Adrian's eyes darkened. "It always is." I looked up at him, and I realized how close we were. I could smell his cologne, clean and expensive. I could feel the heat of him through the thin fabric of my dress. My body reacted before my mind could catch up, and that scared me. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. His gaze held mine, steady and unreadable. "Because you were about to be sent away like a servant," he said. "And I don't like watching good people get used." Good people. No one important had called me that in a long time. Behind his shoulder, I saw Grant watching us. His face was tight with anger. But there was something else too. Fear. Grant was afraid of Adrian Vale. That alone felt like a small victory. Adrian turned me in a smooth spin, and when I came back against him, his lips brushed near my ear. "Pretend you're with me," he said, "just for tonight." My breath caught. "Pretend?" "For now," he murmured. "It will keep him off you, and it will give me what I need." The last part landed heavy. "Give me what I need." I pulled back just enough to look at him. "What do you need?" His expression did not change, but something in his eyes sharpened, like a door closing quietly. "A partner," he said. "Someone believable." My heart beat faster. "Why me?" He paused, just long enough for my skin to prickle. "Because you're invisible to men like him," he said, nodding slightly toward Grant. "But you won't be invisible to me." The words should have made me feel safe. They should have felt like a compliment. Instead, they felt like a promise with a hidden cost. Adrian's hand tightened gently at my waist, and his voice lowered again. "Say yes, Claire," he whispered, "and I'll make sure you never have to beg that man for respect again." I stared at him, caught between relief and fear, between the rush of being chosen and the warning bell in my chest. And then I saw it. Across the room, a waiter brushed past a tall man near the exit. The man wasn't dressed like staff or a guest. He was too plain for this crowd. His eyes scanned the room like he was counting exits, not people. When he noticed Adrian, he gave a small nod, almost invisible. Adrian saw it too. His jaw tightened for a brief second, then relaxed, like he had just received a message. My stomach dropped. I looked back up at Adrian Vale, and I realized the truth that my heart did not want to accept. This dance was not an accident, and I had just stepped into something I didn't understand. He leaned closer, his lips near my ear again, his voice soft as a secret. "Don't be afraid," he said, but his calm felt practiced. And when I finally whispered, "Okay," it felt less like an answer and more like a door locking behind me. The next morning, my life changed so fast it felt stolen. By 9 o'clock, a black car was waiting outside my apartment in Brooklyn. By 10, 2 lawyers in expensive suits were sitting across from me at my tiny kitchen table, speaking in calm, polished voices, while my coffee went cold in my hands. By 11, my mother was crying over a bank statement because the overdue hospital balance that had kept her awake for months was gone. Paid in full. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt like I was standing in the middle of a beautiful room with no doors. The contract was simple on paper, and terrifying in real life. For 6 months, I would be Adrian Vale's fiancée in public. I would attend events, dinners, meetings, and weekend trips when needed. I would move into his penthouse for appearances. In return, my family would be protected, my debts erased, and my future secured in a way I had never even allowed myself to imagine. "This is temporary," one of the lawyers said with a professional smile. "Mr. Vale values discretion and loyalty above all else." Loyalty. The words sat heavy in my chest. I signed anyway. By evening, I was standing in Adrian's penthouse on the Upper East Side, looking out at the city through walls of glass so tall they made me feel small. The place was stunning. Clean lines, dark wood, soft gray furniture, art that probably cost more than my entire apartment building. Everything was perfect, and none of it felt lived in. It was like stepping inside a beautiful lie. Adrian walked in a few minutes later, loosened his tie, and looked at me with that same unreadable calm. "You settled in?" I nodded. "Your staff did most of the settling." A faint smile touched his mouth. "You'll get used to it." "I'm not sure that's comforting." He looked almost amused, like he enjoyed when I pushed back. "Good. You shouldn't get too comfortable." I folded my arms, trying not to let his presence throw me off. "Is that your way of welcoming me?" "It's my way of being honest." He crossed the room and handed me a thin tablet. "Your schedule. Public appearances, charity lunches, one board dinner, 2 interviews where you will smile and say very little. There's also a weekend trip to the Hamptons. My board wants stability. This gives them that." I looked down at the screen. My name had been worked into his life with frightening ease. Fittings, security details, media prep, even a note about my favorite tea. I frowned. "You know a lot about me." His eyes held mine. "I make it my business to know things." I should have asked how much he knew. I should have demanded limits. Instead, I said, "And what exactly do you expect from me besides smiling on command?" His gaze did not shift. "Be convincing. Be beside me. And when I ask a question, answer it honestly." There it was, the hidden edge under the silk. I set the tablet down. "Questions about what?" "Whatever interests me." I stared at him for a long second. "You really do like saying things in a way that sounds polite when they're not." That earned me a real smile, brief but genuine. It changed his whole face and made him look younger, less like a machine built for winning. "And you really do say exactly what you think." I've had to swallow enough. Quote, something flickered in his expression then. Not guilt, not exactly, something closer to recognition. That night we had dinner alone on a private terrace overlooking the city. Candles burned in glass holders. The food was perfect. The view was unreal. Everything felt designed to make a woman forget her own name. I promised myself I would not be that woman. Adrian was charming in a way that was almost dangerous, because it never looked like effort. He asked about my childhood in Ohio, about moving to New York, about my dream of studying interior design before life turned practical and expensive. He listened in a way most men only pretended to. Then, almost without warning, he shifted. "Grant Holloway underestimates everyone," he said, cutting into his steak with precise calm. "Men like that usually miss what matters most." I kept my face neutral. "And what matters most?" "The things closest to them." I took a sip of water. "That sounds like business advice." "It is." "And is this dinner business?" His eyes met mine over the candlelight. "Everything is business until it isn't." Quote. The heat rose in my cheeks before I could stop it. He leaned back slightly, studying me. "Holloway has been moving aggressively this year. New acquisitions, quiet hires, unusual spending. He's planning something." I set down my glass. "You want information." He did not deny it. The silence between us stretched. Somewhere below, a siren echoed through the city. The candle flames moved in the soft night wind. "I want perspective," he said at last. That is a nicer word for the same thing. His mouth tightened, almost in approval. "Maybe." I looked at him, really looked at him. This was the man beneath the perfect suit and the perfectly timed rescue. Sharp, patient, dangerous. He had seen me at that gala and known exactly where to place his hand, exactly what to say, exactly how to become my way out. The thought should have made me run. Instead, it made my heart beat harder. I hated that. He keeps most of his real work off email, I said before I could stop myself. Grant doesn't trust digital trails. He uses in-person meetings for anything important. Quote, Adrian's eyes sharpened just for a second. Interesting. I regretted it immediately. It was a small detail, nothing major. Still, I felt like I had opened a door without seeing what stood behind it. I pushed my plate away. You said pretend you're with me. You didn't say pretend you're helping me destroy my old boss. Adrian's expression changed. The teasing charm faded, leaving something quieter. I'm not asking you to destroy anyone. You're just asking me to hand you the matches. For the first time that night, he looked almost surprised. Then he stood, walked around the table and held out his hand. Come with me. I should have refused, but I had already learned that saying no to Adrian Vale required more strength than I had when he was looking at me like that. He led me through the penthouse to a room at the far end of the hallway. It was darker than the rest of the place, lined with books and old records and framed black and white photos of New York in another era. It was the first room in the entire penthouse that felt human. This is where I go when I'm tired of winning, he said. I turned to him in surprise. You get tired of it? Quote. His laugh was low and short, more than you think. He moved closer, not touching me yet, just filling the space between us. I know you don't trust me, Claire. That's a smart moment of self-awareness. And yet, you're still here. I swallowed. He reached out then, slow enough to give me time to pull away. His fingers brushed a loose strand of hair from my face. The touch was light, gentle. It should not have felt as intimate as it did. You should be careful with me, I whispered. A shadow passed through his eyes. You think I don't know that? My breath caught. For one dangerous second, the room changed. The walls, the city, the contract, Grant, all of it faded. There was only the heat between us and the awful possibility that none of this was pretending anymore. Then his phone buzzed. The spell broke. He stepped back and checked the screen. His face went cold in an instant. Controlled. Blank. What is it? I asked. He locked the phone and slipped it into his pocket. A complication. The answer chilled me. What kind of complication? His jaw tightened. The kind that means you don't leave this penthouse alone starting tonight. A knot formed in my stomach. Adrian. He looked at me, and for the first time since I had met him, I saw something dangerously close to fear. Grant Holloway knows you're here, he said, and he's already trying to get you back. I stared at Adrian like he had just told me the sky was falling. That's not possible, I said. Grant doesn't even know where I live half the time. Adrian's eyes stayed on mine, steady and dark. He knows now. The way he said it made my stomach turn. Not angry, not surprised, certain, like he expected this. I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to hold my nerves in place. How? Adrian didn't answer right away. He walked to the windows and looked out over the city like he was checking the world for threats. The lights below looked soft and pretty, but from up here they felt far away and useless. Grant is not as sloppy as he acts, Adrian said finally. Men like him wear ego-like armor. Under it, they keep knives. I swallowed. So what does he want? Adrian turned back and the room felt smaller. He wants control. And he wants to know why I chose you. I forced a laugh that sounded wrong. Because you wanted a fiancé. That's what he will tell himself. Adrian's voice was quiet. But he'll also wonder what you know. My heartbeat picked up. I don't know anything that matters. Adrian watched me like he was weighing that sentence. You worked beside him for 3 years. That doesn't mean I have secrets. It means you have access, he said, and the word hit me hard. Access. I felt it deep in my chest, like a bruise I didn't know was there. I had wanted to believe this deal was about me, about a rescue, about a strange twist of fate that pulled me into a billionaire's world. But now the air in the room tasted different. I took a slow breath. So I'm in danger because I was his assistant. Adrian's face softened for a second. You're in danger because he thinks you matter. The way he said it almost sounded tender. Almost. He moved closer, stopping just a foot away. Look at me, Claire. I hated how my body listened before my pride did. I looked up. His eyes held mine, intense but controlled. I'm not going to let anything happen to you, he said. My throat tightened. You say that like you own the outcome. His mouth twitched, like he wanted to smile but couldn't. I don't own you, but I will protect what I care about. The words warmed me and scared me at the same time. Do you care about me? I asked before I could stop myself. Silence. His gaze dropped to my lips for a half second, then returned to my eyes. That's not the question you should be asking. That answer felt like a slap wrapped in velvet. I stepped back. Then what should I be asking? Adrian's voice lowered. You should be asking why Grant is willing to cross lines to get you back. My stomach sank. Because he likes winning. Adrian nodded once. Exactly. That night, I didn't sleep. I stayed in the guest bedroom Adrian had assigned me, staring at the ceiling while the penthouse hummed with quiet luxury. The sheets were soft. The room smelled like clean linen and expensive candles. It should have felt safe, but my mind kept replaying the gala. The moment Adrian stopped me from getting him a drink. The way his eyes locked on mine like he had been waiting. Had he really rescued me? Or had he pulled me exactly where he wanted me? Near dawn, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Soft. Careful. My door opened without a knock. I sat up fast, heart racing. Adrian stepped inside with a tray in his hands. A cup of tea and a small bowl of soup, like he had studied what comfort looked like in other people's lives. I couldn't sleep, I said. He set the tray on the bedside table. I figured. He looked tired. His suit jacket was gone, his shirt sleeves rolled up. His hair was slightly messy, like the night had fought him too. Why are you doing this? I asked again, my voice smaller this time. He didn't pretend not to understand. He sat in the chair by the window, close enough to be present, but not close enough to trap me. I made a choice, he said. And choices have consequences. That's not an answer. His eyes lifted to mine. It's the closest I can give you right now. My hands clenched the blanket. So there are things you can't tell me. There are things I shouldn't tell you, he corrected. I let out a bitter breath. That sounds like the beginning of a lie. His jaw tightened. I don't lie for fun. That does not make it better. Something shifted in his face, like frustration fighting something softer. He stood, walked closer, and stopped beside the bed. Claire, he said quietly, the world I live in is not kind. People don't fight fair. They don't lose gracefully. Grant Holloway is not just embarrassed that you left. He's afraid. Afraid of what? Adrian's gaze held mine, and there was a strange gravity in it. Afraid you'll talk. My blood went cold. Talk about what? He didn't answer. He reached out and brushed his knuckles against my cheek, gentle as a question. My breath caught. Pretend you're with me, he whispered again, just a little longer. My eyes burned. If you want me to pretend, then you have to stop treating me like a tool. The word hung between us. Tool. His expression flickered. Just once. A crack in the smooth surface. Then he leaned down, close enough that I could feel his breath. You're not a tool, he said. You're the one thing I didn't plan for. My heart slammed against my ribs. I hated that my body believed him. His hand slid from my cheek to my jaw, turning my face slightly toward his. His eyes were dark, focused, and for a moment he looked like a man fighting himself. Adrian, I whispered. He kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't polite. It was the kind of kiss that made the world blur, the kind that tasted like weeks of tension and unsaid words. My hands moved without permission, gripping his shirt, pulling him closer. His arms wrapped around me like he had been holding back for too long. When he finally pulled away, we were both breathing hard. His forehead rested against mine for one long second. This is a mistake, I whispered. He gave a low, rough laugh that sounded like pain. I know. Then he stepped back like he had been burned. He turned toward the door. "Stay inside today," he said, voice steady again. "No calls, no messages. If anyone contacts you, tell me first." He left before I could answer. Later that afternoon, I heard raised voices from the living room. I stepped into the hallway quietly, my bare feet soundless on the smooth floor. Adrian was on the phone. His tone was sharp, cold, nothing like the man who had kissed me hours earlier. "No," he said, "you don't get to pressure me on this." A pause. I'm aware of the timeline. Another pause. Then he said the words that made my skin go numb. "She's already here. She's already playing her part. You'll get what you want." My hand flew to my mouth. Playing her part. I backed away before he could see me, my heart pounding like it wanted out of my chest. I stumbled back into my room and shut the door, hands shaking. He was using me. Maybe he cared, maybe he didn't, but he was promising someone that I would deliver something. I stared at the fancy phone he had given me on the bedside table. Sleek, new, silent. A gift that felt more like a leash. I needed the truth. I couldn't ask him. He would twist it. He would soften it. He would hide it. So I did the one thing I knew how to do. I watched. That night, Adrian had a dinner meeting off-site. He told me it was necessary. He told me it was safe. He told me his security would stay in the penthouse. The moment the elevator doors closed behind him, the air changed. The place felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath. I walked down the hallway toward his office. The door was locked, but I knew where he kept the spare key card. I had seen him take it out once, casually, like he didn't think I was paying attention. I swiped the card. The door clicked open. My pulse hammered as I stepped inside. The room was darker than the rest of the penthouse, lit only by the city glow coming through the windows. His desk was spotless. His monitors were black. I sat in his chair, feeling the weight of it, the power of it. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. It asked for a password. I thought of Adrian's habits. Clean, controlled, proud. A man who did not make careless choices. I typed a guess. Nothing. I tried another. Nothing. I sat back, breathing fast, my mind racing. Then I remembered something he had said at dinner the first night, almost like a joke. "I make it my business to know things." I leaned forward and typed 2 words that had been echoing in my head since the gala. "Pretend with me." The screen unlocked. My stomach dropped. I didn't have time to feel proud or sick. I clicked through folders, trying to find anything that explained what he wanted from me, what he meant by playing my part. Most of it was corporate stuff I didn't understand. Acquisitions, legal, finance. Then I saw a folder with a name that made my blood run cold. Project Lark. A lark was a bird that sang, and suddenly I knew I was the bird. My hands trembled as I clicked it. Another password box popped up. This one felt more personal, more guarded. I thought of the way Adrian looked when he was alone, when the charm fell away and something older lived behind his eyes. I tried a date. Nothing. I tried another. Nothing. Then I remembered the first night we met. The gala. The rescue. The exact moment my life turned. I typed the date of the Riverstone Gala. The folder opened. And there it was. A file with my name on it. Claire Harper. My throat tightened. My vision blurred. I clicked it anyway. Inside was a full profile. My address history. My job records. My mother's hospital bills. My brother's school loans. Notes about Grant's treatment of me. Even a line about how I liked tea with honey when I was stressed. I felt like I couldn't breathe. At the bottom was a memo, written in clean, cold bullet points. Objective: acquire Holloway Capital's new private data initiative. Method: leverage key personnel with direct access to executive operations. Target: Claire Harper. Assessment: undervalued, financially pressured, emotionally isolated. High compliance potential if offered relief and protection. Execution: engineer public rescue scenario. Establish contract-based engagement for credibility and proximity. Extract operational details gradually. Once access is secured, terminate arrangement. Target becomes expendable. Expendable. The word slammed into me. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the mouse. Tears filled my eyes, hot and fast. It was all a plan. The dance, the kiss, the tenderness, even the way he looked at me like I mattered. A plan. I heard the elevator chime. My whole body went still. He was home. I didn't close the file. I couldn't move. Footsteps approached, steady and confident. The office door opened. Claire, Adrian's voice started, casual, like he expected to find me safe in my room. Then he saw me. He saw the screen. He saw the word expendable glowing between us like a knife. His face went pale. And for the first time since I met him, Adrian Vale looked like a man who had just lost control. For a long second, neither of us moved. I sat frozen in his chair, tears sliding down my face, while Adrian stood in the doorway like the ground had opened under him. The city lights behind him made his face look sharper, colder, but his eyes were full of something I had never seen there before. Fear. Not for his company. Not for his plan. For me. Claire, he said softly, like my name might break if he said it too loud. I stood up so fast the chair rolled back and hit the desk. Don't. My voice shook, but it did not stop. Don't say my name like you care about me. His jaw tightened. He took one careful step into the room. Let me explain. I gave a short, broken laugh. Explain what? The part where you picked me because I was desperate? The part where you studied my family, my bills, my life like I was a business opportunity? Or the part where you planned to throw me away after you got what you wanted? Every word hit him. I could see it. He looked at the screen, then back at me. That file was written before things changed. Changed? I repeated. Is that your best line? His voice dropped. It's the truth. Quote. I shook my head hard, tears burning my eyes. You don't get to use that word with me. Not anymore. He moved closer, slowly, like I was a wild thing that might run. At first, yes, it was a strategy. I won't insult you by denying it. I was going after Grant. I knew you were close to him. I knew you were under pressure. I knew I could offer you a way out. I stared at him with all the hurt in me. So I was easy. His face changed, pain cutting through all that perfect control. No, you were never easy. Then what was I? His answer came fast, too fast. Like it had been waiting behind his teeth. The worst thing that ever happened to my plan. I should have hated the way that made my heart twist. Instead, it only made me angrier. You kissed me, I whispered. You held me. You looked at me like I mattered. Was that strategy too? Quote. No. He said it so hard, so raw that my breath caught. No, he repeated, closer now. That was the part one never saw coming. I wanted not to believe him. I really did. But there was something in his face now that did not look polished or controlled. It looked wrecked. Still, wrecked was not the same as innocent. You told someone I was already playing my part, I said. I heard you. His eyes closed for a second, like the memory hit him hard. My board. I laughed again, but there was no humor in it. That does not help. They were pressuring me, he said. They knew I was moving against Grant. They wanted results. They wanted proof that bringing you into my life was useful. And was it? Quote. Silence. That was answer enough. I turned away, wiping at my face with trembling fingers. I hate you. He did not defend himself. I know. I looked back at him then, and somehow that quiet answer hurt more than an excuse would have. You don't get to know, I said. You don't get to stand there and act like this is some tragic thing that just happened to you. You built it. You planned every step. You saw me drowning, and instead of pulling me out, you made sure I needed you. His throat moved as he swallowed. He looked like a man taking every word because he knew he deserved them. Yes, he said. That one word hit me harder than if he had argued. He came closer until he was only a few feet away, but he did not try to touch me. I did something unforgivable, he said quietly. And if you walk out right now, I will not stop you. I stared at him. He went on, voice rough now, stripped of that smooth billionaire calm. But if you think for 1 second that what I feel for you is fake, then you are wrong. You are completely, painfully wrong. My eyes filled again. You do not get to love me after making me your target. I know that too. Then stop saying it like it fixes anything. It doesn't, he said. Nothing will. The room went silent, except for the sound of my breathing. Then my phone buzzed on the desk. I looked down automatically. An unknown number. A text message. I opened it. I know what he used you for. Meet me tomorrow, and I'll prove it. Ask him about Holloway's Phoenix account. My blood ran cold. Adrian saw my face change. What is it? Quote. I held up the phone. He crossed the room in 2 steps, read the message, and went completely still. Who sent that? I asked. His expression turned deadly calm. Grant. You know that for sure? Quote. He's the only one who would use that name. I looked up sharply. Phoenix account? He didn't answer fast enough. That was all I needed. Oh my God, I whispered. It's real. His eyes met mine. Claire. What is it? Quote. He stayed silent for 1 second too long, and rage lit through me like gasoline. What is it? I shouted. His voice came low. It's the private account Grant uses to hide the development work behind a new financial platform. If I can access it, I can prove he's been moving money illegally and using shell vendors to bury it. I stared at him in disbelief. So that's it. That's what this was always about. It started that way, he said. I backed away from him. And you needed me because I handled his calendar, his meetings, his travel, his secure calls. You thought maybe I heard something useful. His silence said yes. I laughed, then covered my mouth because the sound that came out did not even sound like me anymore. I can't believe I almost loved you. His whole body went still. The words landed. I saw them land. But I was already gone inside myself, already breaking. I grabbed my bag from the chair near the window and headed for the door. Claire, wait. No. Please. I turned on him so fast it made him stop cold. No, you do not get to ask me for patience. You do not get to ask me for understanding. You built a relationship on a trap and then acted shocked when I bled. He flinched. Good. I walked past him and out of the office. He followed me to the elevator but kept his distance like he knew one wrong move and I would hate him forever. Maybe I already did. When the elevator doors opened, I stepped inside. Claire, he said again. I looked at him one last time. He was standing in the bright hallway of his perfect penthouse, and for the first time, he did not look powerful. He looked like a man watching his whole world leave. Pretend I'm with you, I said, my voice shaking. You should have tried the truth. The doors closed on his face. I stayed with my friend Nora for 3 days. 3 days of not sleeping, not eating right, replaying everything until every memory felt poisoned. His hand on my back at the gala, his mouth on mine, the tea he brought me. The way he said I was the one thing he didn't plan for. Maybe that part had been real. But real love built on a lie still cuts the same. On the 4th morning, Grant Holloway called me himself. I almost didn't answer. But I did. His voice came oily and pleased. Claire, I was wondering when you'd figure out what kind of man Adrian Vale is. I gripped the phone tighter. What do you want? To help you, he said, and I almost laughed. Meet me. One conversation. You deserve to know exactly how badly he played you. Every part of me screamed not to trust him, but I had trusted the wrong man once already, so I agreed. Grant chose a private restaurant in Midtown, one of those places where rich men did ugly things behind pretty walls. I arrived early, shoulders stiff, nerves burning through me. When he sat down across from me, he looked smug in a way that made my skin crawl. You look tired, he said. I learned from the best. His smile twitched. Still sharp. Adrian always did like that. I wanted to throw my water in his face. Instead, I said, Talk. Grant leaned back. Adrian has been trying to get into my private financial platform for months. He knew you were close enough to be useful. I'll even give him credit. The fake engagement was clever. I held my expression steady. He slid a folder across the table. Proof. Inside were printed emails, security reports, mentions of Adrian's companies tracking Grant's hidden accounts, notes about me, about my schedule, about the gala. It was real. Maybe not complete, maybe not clean, but real enough to make me feel sick. Grant watched me carefully. You were never special to him, Claire. Just useful. The words hit because they matched the fear I already had, but then he smiled, and in that smile I saw something ugly and careless, something Adrian had been right about from the start. Control. Grant leaned forward. Come back to work for me. I'll double your salary. Adrian may have had you first, but I can still clean this up. We can tell people you were manipulated. Turn you into the victim. I looked at him in disbelief. He really thought this was about salary. He really thought I would run from one cage back into another. My disgust must have shown, because his face hardened. Don't be stupid. Men like Adrian and me, we always win. The smart thing is to choose the side that leaves you standing. I slowly closed the folder. Then I looked him straight in the eye. No, I said. His expression darkened. Excuse me? You were wrong about me too, I said quietly. Both of you were. I stood up. Grant's voice sharpened. Sit down, Claire. I didn't. He rose halfway from his chair, furious now. You think you can walk away from this? Quote, before I could answer, a deep, familiar voice cut through the room. She can. I turned. Adrian stood a few feet away in a dark coat, his face calm and terrifying. Two security men remained near the entrance, quiet and watchful. Grant went pale, then angry. You've got nerve showing up here. Adrian's eyes never left his. I warned you to stay away from her. I looked from one to the other, my heart racing. You followed me? Adrian glanced at me and guilt flashed across his face. Yes, that should have made me angry. Instead, it made me feel strangely, helplessly safe. Grant laughed bitterly. Still protecting your asset? The words sliced through the air. Adrian's whole expression changed. Not cold, not polished, just brutal truth. No, he said, the woman I love. Everything stopped. Grant stared. I stared. Adrian looked only at me. I loved her long before she found the file, he said, voice steady now, every word meant for me. And I was too arrogant, too selfish, and too late to say it honestly. My chest ached, Grant scoffed. How touching. Adrian turned back to him with murder in his eyes. You should leave. Grant's smile came back, ugly and small. Or what? Adrian reached into his coat and placed a flash drive on the table between them. Or I hand federal investigators the full record of your hidden accounts, illegal transfers, and vendor laundering by noon. Grant's face lost color. I looked at Adrian in shock. He went on, calm as a blade. You thought I wanted your platform for profit. I wanted proof. And now I have it. Grant's mouth opened, then shut. For once in his life, he had nothing to say. Adrian stepped closer. You will never contact Claire again. You will never go near her, speak to her, or use her name. If you do, I won't bury you in business pages. I'll bury you in criminal court. Grant stared at him, beaten at last. Then he grabbed the folder, shoved back his chair, and walked out without another word. The silence he left behind felt enormous. I looked at Adrian. You already had proof? He nodded once. Since yesterday morning. Then why did you need me? His face tightened with pain. I didn't. Not anymore. I felt the floor disappear under me. Not anymore? I kept telling myself I needed your access, he said, voice low and raw. But the truth is, somewhere along the way, I stopped needing anything from you except you. I just didn't have the courage to admit that what I'd done in the beginning made everything after it filthy. My eyes burned. He took one step closer. I came here today because I knew Grant would try to hurt you again, not because I wanted leverage, not because I wanted a win, just because I couldn't let him touch one more piece of your life. I looked down, then back up at him. He was not hiding now. No charm, no strategy. Just a man standing in the mess he made. I don't know what to do with this, I whispered. You don't have to do anything, he said. You don't owe me forgiveness." Those words undid me more than all his confessions. I sank slowly back into my chair, suddenly too tired to stand. Adrian stayed where he was, giving me space. After a long moment, I said, "Sit down." He obeyed. We sat there in that quiet restaurant, two people with too much history and too much hurt between them. "I did love you," I said finally, my voice unsteady. That was the worst part. Not the file, not the memo. It was realizing I had started to love a man I wasn't even sure was real. Adrian's eyes closed briefly, like the words hurt exactly where they should. "I am real," he said softly, "but I made myself impossible to trust." "Yes." He nodded. "Yes." I looked out the window for a second, gathering myself. If I ever try this with you again, there are no games, no secrets, no protecting me with lies, no deciding what I should know because you think you know better. His gaze held mine with a kind of careful hope that almost broke me. "Agreed," he said. "And if I ask a question, you answer it." "I will. Even if the truth ruins everything?" He didn't hesitate. "Especially then." Something inside me loosened. Not healed, not fixed, but loosened. I looked at him for a long time. At the man who had targeted me, lied to me, wanted me, hurt me, protected me, and somehow stood here still, choosing the truth when it no longer benefited him. "Pretend I'm with you," I said softly, repeating the words that started all of this. Pain crossed his face. "Claire." I shook my head. "No more pretending." He looked at me like he was afraid to breathe. I stood up slowly and walked around the table. I stopped in front of him. His eyes searched mine, careful, uncertain. "You don't get me because you want me," I whispered. "You only get me if you tell me the truth every single day after this." A beat passed, then he stood. "I can do that," he said, voice rough with feeling. "I can do that if you let me." I searched his face for the lie, for the strategy, for the polished answer. What I found was a man stripped bare, so I nodded once. And when he touched my face this time, it was like he was asking permission from the part of me he had once tried to outsmart. I kissed him first. It was not the desperate kiss from the bedroom, and it was not the performance from the gala. It was slower, sadder, realer. It tasted like truth finally arriving late and bruised. When we pulled apart, his forehead rested against mine. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I know," I said. Outside, New York moved on like it always did. Traffic, noise, light. But inside that small, quiet moment, something new began. Not a fairy tale, not a rescue, something harder, something honest. 6 months later, I walked into Adrian's penthouse again, but it no longer felt like a stage set built for appearances. There were books on the coffee table now, a throw blanket I had picked out, fresh flowers in the kitchen, pieces of a life that had been chosen, not arranged. Grant Holloway was under investigation. His hidden accounts had become public, and every smug smile he had ever worn had vanished into legal hearings and very expensive panic. I never went back to work for anyone. Instead, I started my own consulting firm, helping women leave toxic executive roles and build careers with real power and real boundaries. Adrian helped me find investors when I asked, and stayed out of it when I didn't. He was learning. So was I. One evening, I stood by the window in his shirt and my bare feet, watching the city turn gold under the setting sun. Adrian came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist, and kissed my temple. "You're quiet," he murmured. "I'm thinking." "That can be dangerous." I smiled. "So can pretending." He let out a soft breath against my hair. "I'll regret that line for the rest of my life." "You should." He turned me gently until I was facing him. His eyes moved over my face with that same intensity they had the first night we met, but now there was nothing hidden in them. Just love. Just truth. "I would do almost anything to go back and meet you honestly," he said. I touched his jaw. "You can't." "I know. But you can love me honestly now." His hand covered mine. "That part is easy." I smiled then, because for the first time since the gala, I believed him without fear. And when he kissed me, warm evening light spilling around us. I knew this was never the story of a billionaire who rescued a woman at a party. It was the story of a woman who survived being chosen for the wrong reason and stayed only when she was finally loved for the right one.